Welcome back into another episode of the Huskers Radio Network podcast and our newcomer series as we introduce you to some of the new Huskers on campus here this summer. And I got to tell you, I've been here for 3 years, but I know for a lot of people, they probably have the same sentiment. This is pretty special right here with Kennadi Williams in studio, sitting in the seat where your mom sits when she comes in to do her show. Welcome. How has it felt to be here on campus officially? You've been around the program, but to be here officially.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty surreal. I mean, just kind of, I was the one coming to all the little kids camps in the past and my mom working them, and I just kind of meeting all the girls and now like actually being teammates with them. It's really weird, but I mean, it's a lot better than just being a camper and actually being on the team this time.
How was it too, just like the first time and you're working through your knee rehab and all of that, but just actually being on the court and being around and just, hey, I'm actually a player here now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different. I obviously have been to a lot of the facilities quite a bit, but it feels different having like my N card to just scan and I can just walk in by myself. So,
you guys, we've talked to the other freshmen. You're all living together. How was moving into the dorms and how'd your mom handle it? Was she pretty emotional?
She was, but honestly, there was no tears from anyone, which was a little surprising. But the move-in was smooth. We all get along really well, which is nice. I'm excited that they're my roommates. We've kind of like, we've driven together everywhere we've gone so far, and we've gotten pretty close, so it's good.
Very cool. So you are playing both softball and basketball here. So we're not just talking a newcomer for Husker basketball, but also Husker softball. Big things happening with that program here over the last few weeks. But take us through that decision and your thought process there and wanting to tackle maybe playing two sports here at Nebraska.
Yeah, well, before my junior year, I was kind of thinking, okay, like probably have to decide not only where am I going to school, but what sport am I going to play. And that was probably the harder decision, deciding between sports. And so when I got the call from Rhonda and she's asking like, well, what do you think about playing both here at Nebraska? It was kind of a no-brainer, so I wouldn't have to choose.
Wow, that's cool. So that was more so it was Coach Ravel then that kind of came in and said, hey, how about this?
Yes.
That had to be a cool conversation to have.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was kind of like, are you serious? Or, you know, but yeah, it was really cool.
You know, for a lot of athletes in this day and age, and especially once you get to maybe your senior year, they're like, oh, you need to specialize. But you were an elite athlete really for 3 different sports. How did you manage that? And I guess how did they all play into each other, the soccer, basketball, and softball?
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of complement each other in a way. Soccer with your footwork really helps, like with basketball, your defense, and then softball, your hand-eye coordination helps with basketball, your shooting, and then basketball, I mean, your shape helps with both of them. So, I mean, they just kind of complement each other. I always played the 3, so I kind of got used to having multiple practices in a day and just kind of balancing that, so.
Okay, so you are coming off a knee injury. How you doing? Where are you at in your rehab process?
Yeah, so I'm about 2 months and like a week post-op, and everything's been smooth so far. This one's a little bit smoother than my other knee that I did, but yeah, everything's good, so hopefully it kind of stays that way.
So what are you doing right now to make sure that, hey, I mean, not only are you getting your knee stronger, but also maybe doing what you can to however you can in the weight room and all of that?
Yeah, so I actually just transitioned from my PT to working with our athletic trainer and our strength person. And so they've kind of, I just had my first like weights with them, and it was really good. Like we just worked on lower body and we kind of got a little burn, and then worked on like PT work, which is like flexion and that type of thing at the beginning. So they just kind of wanted to see where I was at. So
really cool. So we talked about softball and Coach Ravel and Amy. Coach Williams has been. It's really neat to see their relationship. Both Coach Ravel and Coach Williams have talked a lot about how much they respect each other. They're great friends. And, you know, when I asked your mom one time, what coach would you want your daughter to play for, Coach Ravel was one of those coaches that she had mentioned. How about for you and just getting to know Coach Ravel and wanting to play for her? What is it about her that you really like as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I love that how committed she is to her team, and she's very experienced. She's been doing this for a while, and, you know, I just kind of trust her in bettering me as a player and kind of getting our team to where we want to be. So.
I mean, you got to think, too, there's a lot of communication that has to happen that it'll probably be pretty seamless because they're already so close between Coach Williams and Coach Ravel.
Yeah, that definitely makes it a little bit easier. So,
are you going to call our mom, Coach Williams?
We're still kind of figuring that out. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So, we had Britt Prince in, and she was talking about, I asked her to talk about, because you guys played together so long, she knows you so well, just what you bring so well to the court. And she was really quick to point out your defense. And you already mentioned that with soccer and how that played in. But how much pride do you take in the defensive end and being a lockdown defender?
Yeah, I mean, as kind of a smaller player, you have to work a little bit harder to, kind of be in someone's vision who might be taller than you, or just kind of like staying low. And having that advantage is kind of what I really buy into. And I want it to be like super uncomfortable for someone to be dribbling, and I just take a lot of pride into that because, I mean, if I have an advantage of being low, I'm going to use it. So,
what was your perspective? How neat was it for you when Britt makes her announcement that she's going to come to Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I was really hoping and wishing she would come here, but I didn't want to push too hard and kind of scare her away. So I was like, we're just kind of going to let her make the decision, but she knew the whole time, like, yeah, I want you to come play with me. So,
what is it about the Nebraska players, the people that are from here? I mean, we've talked about Allison Weidner and Alexis Markowski, but then look at the softball team. I mean, half the rosters from Nebraska, and the soccer team as well, which I know you're familiar with a lot of those players too. But why is it so special? How important is it for you guys to come wear that Nebraska across your chest?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type of feeling when you're representing your home state. And it just kind of, it brings more, passion, I feel like, because you've been supporting Nebraska since you were little, and then as you get to, rep that on your chest, and it's actually you playing, it just means a little bit more.
How neat is it for you to see, because, again, a lot of these players either played against, played with, and in all sports, to have you guys all come together here at Nebraska?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but sometimes, it's oh, I played against her. We kind of butted heads when we were playing against each other. But now it's kind of well, now we're on the same side. So it's cool.
How excited are you about all the additions and the roster that's coming together for this Nebraska softball team, especially over the last few weeks?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited. Rhonda and her staff have been working, and I'm just super excited to kind of get everyone together and hopefully, win some games this year. So,
have you already? I mean, you're going to start having conversations of, I know you've played all three your entire life, so it's not like it's new, but it is different when you get to college, and there's a lot more that goes into being a student athlete. Have you started having those conversations about how you're going to manage both?
Yeah, well, this first year might be just a little bit easier because I'll be redshirting basketball just because of my knee and everything. So I think I'll probably do a little bit more softball because I should be ready by the spring. And so while basketball season's around, I'll probably still try and get in the cages a little bit, so just to keep up with everyone. And then same with when it's softball season, getting in the gym, getting shots up, all that.
You have had a great perspective of this program, of this team, and coming off the NCAA tournament, making it to the second round, and then with everybody that's coming back, and then you and Britt and Amaya coming in. How excited are you? How motivated is this team to continue to build and put together something special here?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. If you just walk in the gym just one time, you hear the energy, you see how bad we want it and it's summer. So I just think it's only going to get better by the time our season comes around. So.
Hear so many of the players talk about the culture and how tight-knit it is. You've had a unique perspective of it. Mm-hmm. What is the culture like? Why is it the way that it is with this program?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is very close-knit, and there's, what I think is so special about it is people, hold you accountable. Your teammates will hold you accountable because I know some people, they don't want to be mean. They don't want to say, and keep you, in check. But I feel if you want to be great, you want to get better, you have to be able to hold your teammates accountable and set that standard. So
we love that, and being that you are so familiar with the program and all that, and you talked about kind of being around, but how is it going to be for you being coached up by these coaches? I mean, I know you've known Coach Mays for a long time, but now that they're going to start coaching you.
Yeah. Well, We were also talking, like, are you tandem, Coach Mays? Like, I don't know. And so it's just been cool, like, actually they're, like, getting a chance to, like, work with me on the court a little bit more now. And I can tell that they're super excited about it. I'm super excited about it, so.
How special has it been for you, too, to see the continued growth of support for all women's sports, but especially this women's basketball program? You've been in the stands and you've seen it, I know, continue to grow and grow, and every year they set attendance records. How special has that been for you to see and then now to get to be a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it great timing for me, I guess. But yeah, it's been really cool just to see bigger crowds and be a part of bigger crowds, but now getting to, like, play in front of them. So
I asked Britt about this too, but, you know, to be in women's sports and to be a basketball player and just the amount of emphasis and how people are talking about it and the WNBA and just the hype around it right now. How neat is that to see and get to have a perspective of that, being that now you're a college athlete?
yeah, it's cool. Like I said, it's good timing, but I mean, just watching how the WNBA is in season right now and it's being talked about more than it ever has. And I just love how those players are getting the recognition that they deserve now. So absolutely.
Okay, so coming in, you mentioned you're going to be rehabbing and going through that process. Have you talked to Allison Weidner about how that process is, or have any of the current players given you any advice of how to approach the summer?
Yeah, so Allison was probably the first one that reached out to me because we pretty much went through almost the same thing. And she was like, we'll both get through this together. And it was just really comforting knowing that, like, she was there for me and someone else had experienced kind of similar things and kind of knows what to expect. And then also Logan Nisley reached out because she's also rehabbing her feet. So we've kind of been going together to rehab and doing weights and stuff. So it's also been fun.
Okay, so what are your goals then? When are you hoping to maybe get to be on the court? That's a while, right? Just how are you going about approaching this summer and what you need to be for it as a teammate and to do your part this summer with this basketball team?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, like, stay involved in all of our practices, even though I can't really be out on the floor, but just staying engaged and making sure I'm learning everything that they're learning. So when I do finally get the chance to be, like, out there, I'm not feeling super behind. So I think that's the main goal this summer.
You already know the playbook, though, right? Pretty well?
Pretty well. I mean, I know their main stuff, like their break and that type of thing, just because I've seen it for so long. But I'm excited to actually, like, learn and be taught, like, the plays.
Absolutely. Okay, so major, do you have a major decided yet?
I'm undeclared right now, but I'm leaning more towards business or kind of going in that route, see how I like it, and then go from there.
Awesome. Kennadi Williams, great to have you in studio. This is so cool, and can't wait to watch you tackle both sports here at Nebraska.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes.
And that is Kennadi Williams as a part of our newcomer series right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast. And this is brought to you by Emeritus, proud to power this podcast and all of Husker women's sports. Thanks for listening and watching. And as always, make sure you subscribe and like wherever you listen to never miss an episode right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast.